All right, you're unmuted.
We got something located.
Okay.
I put the mouse in the wrong spot.
Hate when that happens. Let's see. Yeah, not a fly tying.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Take some bears out of the front yard. All right, it's 1:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Benzie County Board of Commissioners study session. We're in the Frank Walter House Board of Commissioners room. Can I get a roll call, please?
Worsacki,
Here.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Renat is excused, Markey,
Here.
Nye,
Here.
Roloffs.
Here.
Sauer.
Present. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And did we want to move up the discussion for the Village of Honors Playground
To be
Um,
first.
first?
Yeah.
Sure. That way we can probably free up some of his time.
Let them get to work.
Well, under topics for continued discussion, not yet. So I'll move that up to A, then push everything else back by one.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Got motion and support for the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. You got the minutes from March 9th,
April.
pardon?
April.
April, March, same thing. Much.
Motion to approve is accept or as presented.
Support.
Got motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It brings us to our first public comment. Do we have anybody that would like to speak for public comment? Hearing none, I'm going to close public comment. Brings us to our HR updates. Jackie?
Not a lot to update on. We just have two full-time paramedic positions open, and thankfully we received several applications. So we're holding interviews this week. We also have several new employees. We have Genevieve McCray from Dispatch. We have Megan Cooper, who's starting as a part-time Marine deputy, as well as Logan Mosher, who is a part-time EMT. We have one employee currently out on a work comp claim. We have another employee out on a medical leave. We had a successful implementation of the EAP program and have received good feedback on that. So we're going to continue to push that for our employees and let them know it's aware. Anytime an employee comes in to talk to me about anything that's going on in their lives or anything that they need to talk about leave-wise, I always am sure to include the EAP program, and I also notify all new employees of it as well. And so far, it's been great. We're going to be starting the discussion regarding open enrollment and the potential of adding a few more voluntary benefits for our employees regarding retirement options. The reclassification process is winding down. We have one left for the end of the month, and that's going to be the administrative assistant for our office. We're working on budgeting for the 24-25 fiscal year. We anticipate our medical and dental renewal rates within the next 6 weeks. We have a meeting this afternoon about it, but I don't know if it will be exact figures or more of a generalization. And then we're currently going through contract negotiations for our unions. Is there any questions?
I don't see any questions.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Brings us up to topics for continued discussion. Dallas, would you like to start now?
It's here, start with Bob.
Yep, thank you.
And you guys can look through it, some 3D prints of what type of playground it was.
Can you give me your name?
Yes. My name's Dallas Denoyer. I'm a trustee on the board in the Village of Honor. I'm the playground president on the committee. Along with, we have 4 other people, I think, on the committee. And we're looking to raise funds for the playground. We have 34,000 of ARPA money already allocated from the Village of Honor. That is dedicated to this playground. We're in the process of a grant with MEDC, which is the Michigan Economic Development Company, which they'll match 50,000 if we raise 50,000. That playground there is about $350,000. Oh, by the way, this is a handicap accessible playground specifically we were trying to do to help kids in the community in wheelchair, with disabilities. So some of the equipment in there is designed for wheelchair use. And
Bob, Rhonda, I think each page is different.
yes. Yeah, it's just kind of different angles and different pieces of equipment and stuff. It's all the same playground. So you can kind of just check out some things, the visual aspect. This will be next door to Maley Park. In that kind of Y-shaped spot across from
So the plans.
Honor Market and between Thurlby.
Plaza's over here. This is a little side street that goes to the back, road commission property.
This was the side street.
This is gonna be next door to Maley Park, across from the Honor Market area, in between Thurlby basically and the strip mall there of Honor Market.
Like a little
Um,
triangle.
There's a triangle lot there that's been vacant for a long time next door to Maley Park. Down. If you. So 31's right there along, and that's a cut through up to the road commission's
Yeah,
entrance to the
yeah.
gravel pit.
Is a fencing along US 31 at all?
Yes, it will all be fenced in. We're kind of envisioning a solid white fence along the road and then, a metal fence around on the parking lot side and that little side street there to Thurlby.
I would hate to see some little kid just start running.
Yep, it'll be fenced in and the gates will be wide enough to let, people with disabilities in there and everything. We're envisioning the kind of rubber floor there so that everybody can get around and access all the equipment with ease. Like to probably have the fence, have an artist come out and do some big scenes on there of nature or whatever, so that it blocks off the road and keeps the kids inside and safe from drive-by snatchings or any of the things.
Now, for funding for this, you
Yes.
guys have an estimate goal that you're trying to get.
We're hoping to raise 350,000. That one right there is 350,000. I have another one over here that's about 250. But with our funds, and then if we do this match with MEDC's grant, we'll be at about 135,000. And then we're gonna also be doing grassroots, trying to get money from businesses, donors, et cetera, sponsorship type money and all that. But I'm here today to ask if there's any money that the county has available or tax dollars or anything that they might be interested in. I don't want to ask for a number or just let you guys discuss it after I leave or now or whatever. And then when Tim comes to the meeting next month, he can give me a heads up or present or anything with,
Katie, do you
kind of
know
our thought process.
if this would meet the measurements for tribal funding?
Maybe.
But you have to talk to the board about 2% grant application to the grant drivers ban.
Okay, is that talking to this board or talking to the band's board?
This one.
Okay.
So we would sponsor the application for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd be interested in any type of help as
My
why I'm here,
understanding,
so. Yeah, I think it was May 15th or May 1st.
Oh,
well, you have another option in the fall for it as well.
Yeah,
We
they
do?
do it twice
Okay.
a year.
Oh, sweet.
It's a twice a year grant.
Okay.
In my understanding, I think the Village of Honor could sponsor it. It didn't have,
Usually, maybe. They did expand that opportunity, so perhaps they could. Because it used to just be the counties.
Yeah, I just signed one. Maybe.
yes, that was for Bacon.
Yeah, for Bacon.
And we all, Racy's always applies for them too.
Right.
But those are more county-wide entities versus a village or township specific.
Still serving the public.
Yes.
So for grant opportunities, it will definitely help you with there, but
Okay.
other funding, we're gonna maybe have to get creative or we'll have to see.
Yeah, that's anything, even just pushing us in the right direction to help is appreciated. So I'm just kind of here to put it out there. Also let the community know if you guys have people that might be interested in donating or people in the right places, et cetera. If there's tax dollars or extra ARPA money or anything sitting around that.
They
Yeah,
are
we'd like
starting a
to put good use.
campaign, a donation campaign, and that starts July 1st. And basically, was it the Michigan Economic Development Corporation or Committee, whatever they're called, is gonna match up to $50,000 from what they get in donation.
Mhm.
That starts July 1st and goes through the end of August.
The 2% actually closes May 31st. So there would be time now if you wanted to try to apply now. Otherwise, it's November 30th.
Yes, I would appreciate that. We can do it,
So
whatever
The
you need from
the
me.
application is, so you would do the application. We just have to sponsor it typically, or the Village of Honor. And it's on the tribe's website and it's a fillable.
The nice thing about
Yeah, I do.
that grant, Dallas, is, it's not that difficult to fill out.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
That'd be great.
I-
And then I'm talking to a couple people from 100 Women Who Care. And hoping to get our name in a hat. if We can, and we're trying to go in every avenue we can to get funds, so. We'd like to see Honor get beautification and somewhere for kids to go and all that stuff.
Write your email down.
Is there any other questions?
Sounds like you're in the preliminary stages, so. Keep us informed, I guess, is the best I can say
Absolutely.
right now.
Yep. We're just getting rolling, starting July 1st, we're gonna have we had pretty hard to get that $50,000 match with MEDC. And then we're gonna keep hopefully going from there through the fall and winter, and we're lucky we can break ground in the spring.
Wow.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brings us our next discussion regarding tributes, proclamations.
Sure. So in a recent agenda review, we had some conversation with Commissioner Sauer and the chairman about the tributes and proclamations and, if we want to continue to do them, is this a direction we want to continue to go? Or should they be presented differently? Or is this something that we don't want to do anymore? We've done them now this would have been the second year we've done them. Most of the celebration weeks are in April and May, so that we kind of hit it pretty heavy in April and May. And then things really, taper off until the following year. So kind of a touch point, just wanting to hear feedback from you if this is something we want to continue to do. And if so, are we going to continue down this path or should it be different?
If I may, personally, I think it's important that the people in the community realize that we are supporting them in their endeavors. It's important to me. And it's a privilege.
Oh, it's emergency.
I didn't have a problem doing it. My concern was, and Bob did it exceptionally well today, on behalf of the board. And that's something I would like to see added to this. Just, so it doesn't appear that it's just coming from the chair, it's coming from the entire board, even though he represents the entire board.
Yep,
I just
absolutely.
like that out there so the community knows we're all in favor with it, or in favor of it. So that was my only concern.
Yep. And I have noticed that our employees have been very generous about thanking us for some of the work that we're doing,
Mhm.
especially the attention we're paying to wages and making sure we're taking care of them, like no different than how they're taking care of us. So it's important to have that connection, I believe.
And acknowledgement.
Yep, I'm not able to be here Friday afternoon for Karen Mallon, but I stepped in there this morning and said, thank you for everything you did for Benzie County. We appreciate it. It means a lot to us and it does to me. I don't know about the rest of you, but I know some of you agreed. So. But it's part of it. I mean, without decent employees, we're screwed. We really are. You don't have to print that.
She's got it on
Too
tape.
late.
So am I hearing that we want to continue to do the ones we've been doing, just kind of frame them up a little different, that they're coming on behalf of the board versus the chair? And
Yep.
we want to continue to limit to the ones that recognize our employees and volunteers? You?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Suppose we could carry it farther, but I don't see a reason to do. that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to.
But grassroots.
The problem with
Keep it
adding
here.
a lot more, if you miss somebody, then they feel offended because you recognize everybody else.
Right, right.
Well, and that's why we added in county government appreciation this year, because all the different sectors of our employees, they kind of have a week, but then there's everybody else. There's all of the general employees, and so we did the county government as well to kind of capture all those that don't fit into police and EMS and, those groups. So.
Are we done with that topic? I think so. EMS millage and a possible increase in partnership with Elmira.
I invited Supervisor Mark Roper and Fire Chief Brad Drury, but I don't think they were able to attend today. So a while back, we brought up this idea of maybe there's an idea or a possible relationship to be had with the township of Elmira, specifically to EMS ALS services. So Tom and I have met a few times over the last 6-ish months with Brad Drury as well as the supervisor Mark Roper to just kind of explore, see if there's opportunity. You've heard time and again that we're really nearing and really at a point where we need to enhance or expand our coverage because Benzie County is growing and we're so busy in the summer. And so this was kind of a creative way of looking at that. Maybe there's opportunity for partnership versus simply just, adding on more Benzie County staff, such. And so we've been having those conversations and it's become pretty clear to us that Elmira does want to go ALS eventually, probably on their own. And they've established a citizens advisory council in their township to kind of explore this idea. I haven't received any updates as to where that council is at this point, but based on the last meeting that Tom and I had with Brad, he felt fairly confident that the township, that the residents were going to want to go in that direction. Tom and I are open to continuing to explore relationships, but they need to be relationships where both sides are benefiting, and not a relationship where we're feeling beholden to what somebody wants to do and we're not sure about it. I do think Elmira will go ALS at some point, whether we agree to work with them or partner with them or not. And that becomes a whole new battle of, well, not battle, but a whole new discussion of what that means for Benzie EMS, because then they become direct competition to the county. I have confirmed with our legal counsel that counties do not have the opportunity to create special improvement districts. So you'll know in cities and villages, you can create a special improvement districts and only assess those addresses within that district for certain things. The county does not have the ability to do that. So if we get to a point where Elmira and the county both have an ALS service, our millages would be competing in Elmira Township. Elmira Township is a very large population and that could hinder Benzie's millage for ALS service, because if it doesn't pass, the whole county is then out. That's kind of where we're at with it. In a perfect world, we could come up with a really good partnership and Elmira could operate under Benzie County's ALS license, still be their own. I mean, they're still Elmira Fire and EMS, absolutely. But there would be a little more, Benzie would have a bit more say in the operations because they're operating under our license. And that's where I think the line is being drawn of they don't want Benzie to have much of a say in what they're doing. Tom, am I missing anything in this? I mean. Okay,
You're gonna have to back way up for me.
okay, back up.
Yeah, let's back way up. So is Elmira the only township that has its own BLS, basic life support?
Mm-mm.
Who are the other ones?
Thompsonville,
the city of Frankfurt.
City of Frankfurt and Ben's.
Hold on.
No, Frankfurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you come do that part.
Thompsonville and Myra Township. The others are medical first responders, and fire departments.
Okay, say that again. Say that again.
Just Thompsonville and Myra Township are the
Have
only two that
basic
have
life
basic
support.
life support transporting ambulance service.
The key word
county
is
is-
transport here.
Right.
Transport.
The fire departments just do medical first response, where they go out, their oxygen bag, small bag of equipment, wait for the ambulance to get there. So they kind of start. They don't transport, they don't have ambulances,
What does
Betsy
the
does all
city
the
of Frankfurt
transport.
have?
that.
Just, okay,
We
they
have
just
an
get there
ambulance
and
in
they
the
wait,
city of
okay, so
Frankfurt.
we have the county that has ALS.
Correct,
We have 2 townships that have BLS.
Mhm.
correct.
And then everybody has, or there's different fragments of people who respond and
Correct.
wait for BLS or ALS.
Correct.
So how does the township become entitled to a portion of a millage that's collected by the county? Because they selectively have this, I mean, it's,
They don't. So at this point, they have their own, so Elmira has its own millage for its BLS and fire services. We, the county, hold that millage and operate Benzie EMS specifically.
I hate to keep stopping you, but
Oh, no, you're
you
good.
guys have been knee deep in this stuff and
Yep.
this is not my area. So Elmira folks pay a special millage in addition to the county millage.
Correct.
So they get quicker.
Most jurisdictions in Benzie County pay the countywide ALS millage.
Yep.
Then each one pays a fire and fire EMS millage to their local jurisdiction
Sure.
as well.
Sure.
That's what we're talking about.
So I pay too.
Right, I pay 2 through.
So yeah,
Benzonia.
so we're already paying 2 in essence,
Okay.
as taxpayers. But the difference is the fire and BLS or ALS. So you're paying for 2 kind of, but they're totally different services. They're just in that same realm.
So, but the county is only allowed to provide the higher service of ALS for those situations that happen in Elmira Township when these emergency situations are happening, even though they pay 2 millages. Is that right?
So there's some discussion and I would say disagreement a little bit as to, who's the responder, who determines ALS and who's in charge of the scene.
Well, and I mean, even further, who collects the payment then, right?
Well, that's where the intercept agreements come in. And if they transport, there's an intercept agreement where a portion of the money comes to the county for that specific thing. but
Because
then-
there are fees on top of the millages.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's an intercept agreement that we have, and that intercept agreement determines that Benzie gets some of that money while Elmira maintains the rest of that money for that transport.
And is that agreed upon? That works well? That's working well?
We've had it in place for numerous years.
Required by the state of
Yeah.
Michigan for a basic ambulance service to have intercept and mutual aid agreements with neighboring department, at least one neighboring department. So since they're in Benzie County, they're by law required to have a mutual aid and intercept agreement in place with us.
How
Now,
many-
whether it works well depends on who you ask. Because there's a lot of differences and opinions on many levels.
So is there conflicts in service delivery, service of care or delivery of care? Is there conflict there? Like who's gonna go on this call? Or is there more conflict in the who collects when the care is delivered? Where is there conflict? It seems like the higher level of service that we can provide in any area is gonna be good for the residents.
They maintain that they should always be the first one to do all the things unless it qualifies for advanced life. And there's certain parameters that push it into ALS. So
Well,
they've
let me
said,
put it in a context that might help understand.
thank you.
So sometime in the last few years, my wife called 911. Elmira showed up and they were the first one in the house. Benza EMS was shortly behind them. As soon as the paramedic came in,
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
So when Elmira showed up, they were BLS, basically?
correct,
Okay, and then an ALS bus showed up.
right.
Okay,
As soon as that paramedic or equal shows up, Elmira automatically now is an ALS truck. Elmira is gonna get the most money.
No,
Sort of,
kind of.
not exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when I paid my bill, I paid Elmira more than I paid you.
I know. That's how intercepts that work.
So for me,
Yeah.
they became an ALS truck.
Utilizing our paramedic.
Correct.
So it's commonplace for our paramedic to get into another one to then upgrade it.
Because you're already on
okay,
there.
so the rig isn't, it's not an ALS or BLS by virtue of the vehicle, it's by the staff on the vehicle
Yep.
And equipment.
and equipment. Okay, well, how does that change? How does a paramedic getting on a BLS
They
if the
take the-
equipment's not
They
there?
take the equipment with them.
Takes their bag with them.
Yeah, that bag that they come and run into your house
Yeah.
with, that's like the magic bag.
You gotta
Okay.
watch, you gotta watch Emergency. Or you
Yeah,
get
I
that.
watched
Gotta watch
Jeopardy- I
Chicago
watched Wheel
Med
of
or
Fortune
something.
and Jeopardy. It
We
doesn't
got
help.
step later.
Yeah. Okay,
So the moral of the story is if there's an opportunity to partner and have a relationship to expand ALS coverage in Benzie County, we want to explore that. But it has to be a mutually agreeable relationship. And so far, the meetings we have felt a bit one-sided in who gets the benefit. Would you agree with that? And
They
so,
use our credentials, but they don't want to respond to Tom
yes.
as the director.
and they become an ALS by virtue of just hiring paramedics with the special bag.
They already have them. They
Right.
just need our license in the interim, or they may operate under a special law that's temporary. And then they can apply for a license. But they don't know if they can maintain 24/7. So they want to utilize us to trial and error if it works in Elmira. And then if it works, then they're going to say, peace out, we're going to get our own license, and now we're competing. So they want to use us as the trial and error.
So we're not competing for millage dollars, we're competing for call dollars, who goes on the call.
No, it's still millage dollars too, because how do you tell the Elmira Township residents that you're not only paying Benzie EMS for ALS service, now you're paying an increased millage in Elmira for also ALS service?
But how can Elmira pass that? You can't just opt out of a county millage.
No, you can't. I already asked. It's not allowed.
We want our own.
Yes. Because
Gotcha.
that drum is being beat hard. So
Yeah,
then we
it's-
become, and now if this was one of our smallest jurisdictions in Benzie, we probably wouldn't be as worried because it's a couple hundred votes. But we're talking about one of the largest townships in Benzie, the largest voter population. That could cause issue. And they want to respond to inland and respond to lake. Well, now you've taken off half of our county population already, and then that pigeonholes us into a possible failure. And now we have to lay off an entire department, and the rest of the county gets hosed.
You cannot not have these first responders in this area, right?
We'd
That's
have
gotta
to-
be a statutory
We'd
requirement.
end up having a contract with somebody like MMR at the end of the day. Which nobody wants to hear that notion.
They wouldn't press it then.
So we're actually, the competition lies with the millage. go out for millage and Lake Ann says, we want this, screw the county. Our services will be hindered big. That must be where I got what was going on yesterday with Thompson. Thompson.
And maybe the township voters will see the value in both, but that's a hard gamble to rely
Well, I
on.
think they're being fed something that they shouldn't be eating right now, to be honest. I'm a little disappointed in the two people that are behind us.
If the voters of Elmira Township want an ALS ambulance sitting in their township, they're already paying for an ALS service in the county. I'm sure we could come up with a way to put a Benzie County ambulance in that township.
They just don't want you having a supervisory
Well,
authority.
the fire department, the township. People. I don't,
Depends on how it's sold to them. Kind of worries me. Yeah,
Do you have a model in mind that would be equitable and fair that you're trying to propose? Or are we still just kind of in conversations right now?
So they're working with their Citizens Advisory Committee Council to hear the direction of where the township wants to go. It sounds pretty confident that ALS is where they eventually want to go. I threw out in the conversation of just working with Benzie County long term, and it was very clear to me that it was an interim thing and that if their community liked it, they were going on their own. Because I mentioned in the conversations working under our license, and that was like a kind of response. So I would love a relationship and a partnership and to work together and, you know, do all these things. That's what I would prefer. That's what makes rural communities work, is partnerships. But I think they want to be on their own. And I'm not sure if there's going to be any convincing to go otherwise. And so I guess we're here today to hear from you of how would you like us to proceed? Do you want us to continue to try to convince this partnership and work under Benzie County and try to change that mantra? Or do you want to be the trial and error for a couple of years and see how it works? Or do we want to say, good luck, we're going to do our thing?
well, unless they wanted a partnership in a manner that, okay, we get another ambulance, another ALS, and we keep it up there. But Tom is still, or whoever's in charge here, is still responsible and calls the shots. That's the only way I'd go for it. Otherwise, good luck.
Right.
So
So
if they did go ALS and they had their own millage and our millage was not supported for the rest of the county, that's potential, right? That's what you're telling me could happen.
yeah, I mean, if everybody in Elmira Township voted no on the counties because they want their own local, I mean, that could be enough of a difference to fail the rest of the county. It's a large voting population up on that end of the county.
And you said they were talking about adding inland as well?
And if we, as part of this track, say, you're responsible for inland to reprieve the rest of our staff, well, now you have inland's population, which is growing rapidly. That could really hinder.
But why would you require them to vote if they've got their own independent system that they're trying to essentially break off
Yep.
to their own service area?
Correct?
Can we exclude them?
Nope,
No.
I already asked. Counties do not have special assessment district
Okay, see,
authorities.
That's how
Like,
we're
we
circling
can't-
back, so I understand that.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
that's-
in a city, you can establish like a special assessment
Right.
district for a neighborhood. Counties can't do that.
So essentially, they'd be forcing every other area to go ALS, and so we'd have smaller segments of service areas more locally provided.
Yeah, so
Wouldn't have a
at that
county
point, the
governed-
townships would have to put individual township millages on their ballots for ALS. And then however that works of either giving it to the county for a county department or what have you, we would no longer have a county millage. It would have to be individual.
So have we ran the numbers on that, what that means to the individual taxpayer? I mean, we don't know what every township would levy, but can
Right.
we make a case why this is the most fiscally responsible way to do this? We've been doing it for a long time. We're doing it well, I assume.
as far as I know.
But unfortunately, it's not up to anything that we do or say. It's up to Elmira Township and their residents. If they want to do it, they're gonna do it.
Right, and what do you do in a situation where Gilmore fails it? So do we not serve that tiny township? You know, I mean, then you're in that situation, if we have to, say we get to a point where we have to piecemeal this and all the townships have to have their own millages.
Mhm.
What do you do when one of them fails it? Do we just not respond to that corner of the county?
Do you not respond to Elmira now because they have their own service area? The county would not be responding to Elmira?
I don't think legally you cannot.
Legally, we cannot.
So we're still going, they've passed their millage, ours is voted down, but we still have to go that way if they have their own ALS.
Well, if we have a service.
Well, so
Yeah, if we. if
clarify,
ours loses,
if
don't
we
have-
have, if we still have a countywide millage for ALS and Elmira has a millage for ALS,
Like this.
our EMS would still be by statute, I believe, required to go there.
Selfish.
Now, in the event that theirs passes and the countywide fails, but we still keep the countywide going, we could exclude them because
it's not
they're already
them.
covered.
I mean, is that, all right, that's confused. So when Bob's call goes in, the same thing's gonna happen. He's just gonna have 2 ALS units in his driveway.
Nope.
No, they won't send
Not
to
that
you.
way.
Dispatch will send whoever's available.
Yeah, dispatch will send whoever's available.
Okay.
But
And
you could
they-
also, if I understand this correctly, would not stop Elmira from filtering into the other townships
Right.
to actually take calls that
Right.
we should be getting, I guess, depending on what's available. So that could be another issue as far as funding, my
Is-
opinion.
Is this approach being taken because they feel like the response time is not where it should be? I mean, why is the push so hard to go ALS?
Is it
Independently.
economic?
Because of the new direction of the new fire chief.
There you go.
Oh.
And from big city, bigger is better.
But he isn't going bigger, he's going smaller, right?
No, He's in control of his own.
He's expanding his own power is what he's doing.
Feel like I'm getting somewhere, but I'm looking at me funny, like.
So some of these discussions you're supposed to have.
So do we need an ad hoc committee? Do we need to have these conversations?
Yes.
Because I mean,
Spirit of collaboration. And I think we continue the conversation until we know it's not gonna work. So in the spirit of collaboration, I would love an ad hoc committee. So we can have some more of these conversations, ask the harder questions, kind of get to the bottom of this, because maybe there's opportunity for partnership and maybe there's opportunity to change some opinions on both sides of the table. You know, Tom and I have had some high level conversations, but you know, we're not elected Board of Commissioners. We are appointed officials speaking to elected officials. And so it adds merit when fellow elected officials are part of those conversations. And so I think we continue to explore this for a few more months and see if there's opportunity. But up until now, I'm feeling it's kind of one-sided and maybe the opportunity might not be there for Benzie.
so the exploratory group that's being set, what did you call that again?
I don't know.
Citizens for,
Citizen-
Oh, they established a Citizens Advisory Committee or Council.
Is anybody attending those meetings on behalf of Benzie County?
No, I
Have
haven't,
we been invited?
no. I don't even know when they're at, where they're meeting. I think I asked for that too in our meeting about knowing where they're at and
Private, public.
I feel like we need to draw a line in the sand. They want to cross over that line. I don't see how we're gonna negotiate with these folks the way they're doing things now. Probably a good idea to try an ad hoc committee,
Yeah, and
but
they
I
would be
don't
part
know
of
that
that.
it's gonna be very effective.
Well, they would be part of that and you've opened that door then and you're showing that spirit at least. And I would say yes, go,
Well,
I-
we gotta try
those-
and negotiate, because Katie's right. If they get
right,
Elmira and Inland Township, it won't pass. That if they all
Exactly.
vote no.
right.
Even if
Because
it's
they're
just
gonna-
Elmira,
Just
there's,
Elmira, right?
Ideally, Benzie EMS would be 3 stations. So they have basically, you have this, you have this, you have this. And then it would work because the response time is a lot shorter. I mean, Station
Right.
2 is 2 miles away from the Elmira Township line. You got another 4.5 miles to get in to where the population is. So if
Do
you're
we
short,
have a record of a lot of issues not servicing these calls or not getting there?
no,
Yeah, that's something.
so I
Safety and
approached,
Economics.
Tom and I approached the idea of this of, yeah, Elmira would essentially serve as that third station for Benzie EMS.
Yep.
And we'd work out that relationship. But then they're somewhat beholden to the county and our supervisors and our operations. That's where things get muddy and there's the drawback of, well, let's do it on our own. And the trial and error thing worries me because what if it fails in a year? Now we got to start over and figure out what we're doing, and service could be hindered for other places. And, it's because it was sold of like, well, we would trial and error it like 3 days a week, and then you do the other 4. And we were like, well, that's a scheduling nightmare because of their lack of staffing. Yeah. So, I think we're early enough in the conversations. We need to continue this in the spirit of working together.
Did we, float the idea of putting our truck, our personnel in Elmira Township?
Yeah.
But did we present that to them?
I said that to one individual and
Did it register?
I don't think it really registered yet.
Okay,
So, but then that would mean we have to add staff and buy another truck too. And that's a
That's something
decision
that's
for
been
this.
coming
board.
anyway.
Well, yeah, and so that's part of the reason of approaching these conversations. It's because we're drawing that near. I mean, we kind of are in need of a third truck.
We've been
We're-
talking about third truck for a long time.
Correct. And so this was the idea of, well, if we could partner, maybe that alleviates that a little bit. But the partnership needs to be equally benefiting both sides of the table.
Is it your sense at this point that everybody's still willing to come to the table
Mhm.
and have these
I think so.
conversations?
I think so. Although no one showed up today, so I don't know.
but to have
It
that.
speaks pretty volume, doesn't it?
it's loud.
I mean, I reached out, Wednesday or Thursday to them. And I think we told them at our meeting that it would be coming forward to you in May.
So who are the best candidates to be on this? I mean, I'm assuming Tim.
Yeah, you're Elmira people.
I mean,
I'm the only Elmira people.
Your person.
You can take Evan, but I never know if he's gonna follow what Inland tells him to do or,
But he's
I
a
do
first
what's right. I do
responder.
what's right for everybody.
right, I know you do.
But as a
Okay.
first responder, you have good take as well.
right, so my,
We being volunteered.
We can send him.
voluntold.
It's called voluntold.
We're doing all 3 of them, or? is
The
it-
only beauty of, I mean, I'm willing, it's just, I don't have any background in any of this, so
I
I
know.
have a perspective that's not swayed by
Yeah.
anything. So, I mean,
I'm still green in the whole topic, but I'm learning.
right. And it's gonna hugely impact the area I represent. But you guys live in the area that's
Mm.
primary to this.
Well, and I'd like to come up with a long-term solution because coming up with a solution for the next 12 to 36 months to me is just not real feasible for the county. So we need to try to come up with a longer-term solution because this is a very, very important service in our community. We recognize that every time it's on a ballot. And so we have to have a long-term solution for what we're going to do.
It's kind of like the ambulance in Frankfurt and the ambulance in Elmira. That ambulance is 1 mile from the county line. The Frankfurt ambulance is a half a mile from Lake Michigan. So there's nothing on that side and there's nothing on that side. So they're only serving basically half of their population, what could be if they were in the center of the county. So the lines, I mean, there should be one farther this way, like inland, and then this one should be over here and that one should be over there and there. So just the way it is, just where the population is.
Mhm.
So is the goal of the ad hoc committee going to be a reconfiguration and a proposal development for a partnership? I mean, and that means fiscally as well, what numbers wise would work out, what location wise would work out. It's a big task.
Well, I don't know if the reconfiguration piece is, I think this should really solely focus on
The relationship.
what do we do with Elmira and how do we approach that subject?
Oh.
We've talked about before, we established an ad hoc and talked about EMS, animal control and solid waste and what does that look like for the future and those sorts of things. And we all agreed that moving a truck out of Frankfurt and towards the center of a county made 100% more sense. But that's 5 to 10 year capital planning right there too. And that's a chain of events of if you move them to the center of a county, which is where animal control is, and then you're moving animal control as well, you know, that's 10 years out. I think we focus on this relationship piece because if the relationship piece is done well, then we have 3 sections of the county which serve everyone quite adequately.
Are we getting ahead of ourselves, though, making an ad hoc committee until we know that they're willing to talk and I mean, I
I
think
do
you.
think they're willing to come back to the table and continue to talk. I do. I do.
They need direction.
Yeah.
And
Cause I mean, we can have a committee all day long, but if they're not willing to talk, a committee doesn't mean a thing.
Well, I mean, we put the committee together and we try to call all the first couple of meetings. And if we're met with no thank yous, then we come back here and say, this is what we're met with. How are we moving forward as Benzie County? If they're willing to come to the table, I think we continue to come to the table until we both walk away happy or both walk away saying no.
it's at least identified then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So ad hoc first.
Yeah, I'm just
So,
saying,
yeah,
we don't need to
very
have an ad hoc meeting unless they're involved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I'm gonna,
They don't want to be involved. That answers your question.
Correct.
You don't have to go any further.
Right.
Hopefully they'll listen to reason.
So Bob and
So I'd want to be ahead of time for all.
Mhm.
But what kind of plans does Inland have? Future. Comes to ELS and all that. They don't have an ambulance now, do they?
Not right now.
yeah.
No, he meant
669.
No, I meant
He meant
Inland
inland
itself. the
fire
township.
department.
They keep wanting to expand their fire department. I didn't know where they're going to do it.
Rural EMS. Single source provider for EMS is the most fiscally responsible means of providing ambulance services throughout your communities. We're not talking about Saginaw County, we're not talking about Greater Isabella County, we're not talking about Grand Traverse County. We're talking about a total run volume of 2,500 calls a year. We're not talking about 10,000 calls a year. We have multiple ALS agencies as a failing model in this county. I worked rural, I worked urban for over 30 years now. In fact, I've seen this scenario play out in Crawford County, where they had a single source ALS ambulance service, a couple little BLS services, and one of those BLS services went ALS. And relationship between the two, between the county and that township went to hell in a handbasket. Relationship between that township's ambulance service and the original providing ALS ambulance service went to hell in a handbasket. They couldn't handle their volumes or the cost to doing business, so they wanted to expand and they tried to backdoor maneuver into the city of Grayling and Grayling Township to try to get them to contract with them for EMS coverage and fire coverage and do away with their own local fire service. They're already talking about carving out part of Inland and Lake Township. Then they're going to want to start taking most of the transfer. They cannot afford to do this without huge tax volume, which is why they came to us and asked us to give them back the money we collect from Elmira Township. My position is they walked into that room, took a dump on our face and turned around and walked out. That's as politically correct as I'm gonna be.
So I'm assuming everything you said right now, you said in that meeting. Yes or no?
Well, like
Some of
what
it.
I said, some of it.
Some of it.
The rest
The
was-
winning part
the
of it.
rest was in
This
my
is- This is a
office.
failing
I,
model.
I went to Brad over a year ago because relation to tension is astronomical between Elmira Township and Benzie County EMS. So I tried to extend an olive branch per se and say, what can we do? And Katie and I had already talked about it ahead of time. Well, hey, why don't we look at putting together some type of affiliation or a
Partnership or
partnership.
something.
where we put an ALS ambulance in your township. Let's work out all the kinks and the details. We know it's going to take some time, but then you don't have to go back to your taxpayers and try to get more money. We don't have to go back to the rest of the county and try to get more money. We can pool our resources together and have ambulance right here in Elmira Township. That initially sounded good. Then when they came to this last meeting last month, it was not the objective. Their objective that they presented was, we're gonna go ALS under the Bennett bill. We want you to give us back the money that you're collecting from Elmira Township.
And we want to.
And we've got this committee that we've ordered for the direction of ALS and, and then they tried to like, we don't want to take your or your tax base away from you or your voters away from you. The reverse psychology, which is exactly what they were threatening us with. Do what we want, or we're going to take the votes away and you're not going to have an ambulance service.
Much more PC.
Better than you thought, or-
No me.
We need.
So
we
I'll
need
work
have
to
a reality
call-
check.
I'll work to call together an ad hoc
Ad hoc.
meeting and let's have these conversations. Let's get the frustrations out there. And let's see if we can come up with some sort of working relationship. I don't want to jeopardize the county service. Our community deserves better than that. And I would hope that we can come to some sort of compromise and hope everyone understands that everyone in the county is important and worthy of this service. And so there shouldn't be any issue with that. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. I
Good
think
luck.
that's it.
Let's recap. We got Bob, Evan, and Rhonda on this committee.
No, Tim, you are.
Art,
Nope.
No,
Gary, and Karen.
You better keep me out of there.
no. I've got Frankfurt's fire.
Well, isn't Art part of Elmira?
Yes.
I'm
Doesn't
just
matter.
saying.
What would you like? I wrote down Bob, Evan, Tim. I will
That's
write
fine.
down whoever you're recommending.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Great.
All right.
Sounds like
Of
a good
attorney.
to be.
Are we done with this
Yes,
discussion?
I think we.
Thank
can
you,
move on.
Tom.
Some egos need to be fixed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
We now on to discussion regarding a bond attorney.
All right, so the road commission, as all of you know, have been exploring the possibility of a bond millage to build the new building. We are to a point where we as Benzie County, we're the ones who have to work with the bond council and decide whether or not this is going forward on a ballot. The road commission cannot do that. We have to bond. And so I need to hear from you who you would like me to call first to get this process going. We can't really do much at this level until we have a bond council that I can call. So the road commission, I spoke with Troy and they're recommending, the Miller Canfield as the bond council. That's who they've been talking to, thus far, which is then also working with Benzinski and Company as the financial advisor. We can go with them at the road commission's recommendation if you'd like. Matt from Cole Stoker said that he has past experience working with Kester So of Dickinson and Wright out of Lansing. He's also bond counsel that he's worked with in the past and said he would do a fine job. So there is that option as well. And then I do believe, if I remember correctly, that the county in the past used John Axe
Yes.
as bond counsel related to the Maples. So those are kind of the three that I'm aware of. I need direction from you as to who to call first so that we can actually present you with information in June from the road commission. Because until I have this person who can draw up any documents and such, I won't have much for you come June when we're approaching the deadline for the November ballot.
Does this fall under, we need to get 3 quotes?
It-
Well, they need to get 3 quotes.
I'm asking, I don't
Not to
know.
that point yet.
You know, so that'll all come later, yes. Bond councils don't get paid. The legal councils don't get paid unless a millage is
Yeah,
passed.
they're paid out of the bond.
Right, so they're paid out of the bond. So yes and no.
So if the road commission is already using one,
Yes,
would
they
it be smart to go with that one since they're already?
This is the
You
one
have
that's
the authority.
recommended by their organization, whatever the,
Is it Miller Canfield, you said?
Miller Canfield does a lot of road commission work, and so their association would recommend that because they do primarily the work for road
I think they
commission.
work with the only one I've ever heard of working with and worked with is Pat McGow, the bond attorney, and I think he works with Miller Canfield.
I think he
Good.
does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Matt gave a nice recommendation, but he's in Lansing, so I don't know how accessible he would be either.
I just think whatever we do, we need to accommodate the road commission. Their work, they want to work with. I'm in favor of both financial advisor and the attorney.
I think they need
Is that-
both. Right?
Oh, yeah,
I do believe so, yes.
yeah.
Well, if I was coming here asking, I had my recommendations. I wouldn't want this board to say, well, no, use somebody else, somebody that I'm inclined to go with their recommendation.
That's him.
But we also
Okay, well-
did have a good working relationship with John X and when we did the Maples.
Mhm.
I understand that, but
Well, I'm just,
that's,
I don't know at what point in this process, but I do want to have a serious conversation about heeding some of the advice and recommendations that I've been hearing. All of us as a board from Eric Van Duzen about reestablishing the building authority for this project. And then I was at a township meeting when, help me, local attorney, female health department attorney.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
Lisa Vogler?
Lisa Vogler had some very strong opinions about being cautious in these kind of projects based on the things that happen, and she was willing to share. Make sure you do this, this, and this, and I think we make a mistake if we don't invite her in to listen to what she has to say. She volunteered a lot of time during the Maples to address and identify things that were going wrong, and she has a lot of information on that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, so the Eric Van Duzen and Building Authority, I've spoke with Eric now a couple of times about that whole situation, and I've asked him to, take a passenger seat until we get some clear direction on that. So that's that. I did speak with Tim Perrone of Stoker. I've also spoke with Bobby, as he goes by, of Benzinski and Sons and Company. And the consensus is the building authority doesn't even exist anymore. There's case law out there that says that once a building authority has really went dormant and all the terms expire, it by default completely dissolves. And we are in that situation. There's an attorney general opinion that I'm waiting on from Mr. Benzinski regarding that. And that's what Tim Perrone is saying too. He's saying if we wanted to use the building authority, yes, that we would establish and they would bond and do the things and they'd have to turn stuff over to the county and then the road commission. But everything else I'm hearing is building authorities are really not a thing anymore.
They were a thing when you had to
Use them to bond.
bond, and now the county itself can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think us people that list fingers in the pot is probably
Yes.
a smoother. I understand Eric's concerns,
Yes, very
But-
much so.
and that's because of one bad experience. I think we're good, and I think the road commission is actually headed in the right direction.
And Troy and I spoke a few times now, and we've talked about what this might look like going forward. And him and I agree, this is a partnership. You know, road commission, and we depend on each other. This is a partnership. We're on the same team. And we agree on every step of hiring a project manager and going through these RFP processes, having these checkpoints. Like we're in full agreement of that, of having someone who manages this on behalf. So there's no question there. The road commission is very much like we do what the county tells us to do. We're all on the same team. And so
That
that's
sounds
really,
great. I guess I would just ask as administration, if you could reach out to Lisa Bulgler and hear what because she was very open about publicly expressing her concerns
sure,
about the building that the township is doing
sure.
as a cautionary tale things to be. And I would just feel more comfortable if you would give her a few minutes
Yeah.
and see if anything that she has to offer is worth, take it with a grain of salt, but she was involved in that, and shame on us if we make the same mistakes, right?
Well, I actually reached out to Katie before with the project up. Because the AIS contracts, insurance wise, was the issue. He's already fixed that problem when they did the 911 center, so it's already been just, looked into to a certain extent. The stuff that Lisa brought up, stuff that was totally missed, paper. And I don't know what Benzonia Township's doing, but I know from what Katie's been doing, she's been on top of this. So I don't feel,
I'd be curious to know if Benzonia has supplemental insurance, aggregate insurance, if they have a standalone contract, because Gary's absolutely right. Those AIA contracts are garbage. All they do is benefit the contractor, and I would highly recommend not using them. So incorporating them into a contract, sure, because you have your surety bond, your performance bond, and your payment bond. You should have all those bonds in place. You should have various insurance. You should have project-specific aggregate endorsements that cover the project for the total cost. All those things should be in place. And if those are not in place, you're remiss in proceeding with that project, in my humble opinion. We had all those insurances in place for the dispatch expansion. We had specific project endorsements that said, no matter how many lawsuits they have and how many times they've been sued and whatever their per occurrence is, ours is called out specifically for the total cost of that project. So we're secured that they're going to
And perhaps with a conversation with Lisa, everything that she's
Yeah.
concerned about is being
Mhm.
covered. That would
That could
just
be-
be, it's a good conversation to have.
Can you shoot me a text of like her phone number? I don't think I
I
have
don't think I
it.
have it.
You
I
have it?
have it.
Okay, if you can
it's gotta
shoot me,
fall every once in a while.
if you can shoot me a text with it, Bob, I'd appreciate it.
No, it sounds like you're completely on top of it. I just don't want a cautionary
No.
in a public meeting to not be heated. I
No,
mean, maybe you have
I
a
agree.
conversation with her and you're like, we're good.
Yeah, I'll
Everything's
give her a
covered."
call and chat through
Okay.
it with her. So I managed all the contracts and all the insurance for Traverse City and all those projects that we did, those, $3
Well,
million.
clearly this
straight.
project went along
And so,
flawlessly.
well, Rebecca had the heavy lifting and all the managing. But as far as the paperwork piece of it, I'm really good at that part. Huh? It's beautiful paint colors too.
That's all.
Yeah, I've been thinking of talking about
All it has to do
Yeah,
is pick up
But,
paint.
but we'll ensure, yeah, I'll talk to Lisa and, talk to her too about some of those issues, but no, the AIA contracts they're totally in the favor of the contractor. We have a standalone agreement that I've worked with Cole Stoker to come up with that, for the county. And then those folks sign those contracts and they require certain insurances in those contracts to protect us and our project.
Well, good. And I think it's a good conversation to know that you're on top of this and all those things are being looked at. Because and it's good for the public to know
Mhm.
that we're being really aware of how this is moving forward.
Yeah, we don't want liability on the county.
Yeah.
So, but Troy and I speak quite often about all of this. He's completely lockstep with me on how to move forward on all the things. And so I'm not worried about that relationship at all.
That's good.
That's
And
good.
again, it builds trust with the community to know that, we're moving forward responsibly.
Absolutely. So I will give Lisa a call. I'll also speak with Miller Canfield too about where we go from here. Just as a minor update, Troy should have some rough numbers that first part of June. So then we can come back in June with the rough numbers, with the proposed language, and just kind of show you the pretty picture for you to make those decisions based upon.
Will we be hiring financial advisors and the bond attorneys through the county?
Yes.
Will that be decided in
So,
June then?
I envision it as a three-way agreement.
Okay.
But so we'll get to that, yes. So once I call them and ensure that they want to work with Benzie County, we'll bring that stuff forward. Thank you. I have my direction.
Anything further on that?
We're good.
Brings us to our next thing on the agenda, our master plan review and discussion.
Hello,
Oh,
how's everyone doing?
I hope you enjoyed that last
Yes.
15 minutes.
Believe it or not,
Are you done with it?
not the most contentious conversation I've followed up with, so. Squeaky. So here I've got your draft goals. I am going to take a shot at writing the objectives / action items for you. And then review them and tell me how far off I am or.
So you're gonna do all the work.
I'm gonna do most of the work.
Perfect.
That's why you way higher than me.
What you doing here?
So all I wanted to get an idea from you all was, you know, right off the bat, just because you're more aware of who the players are in Benzie County, of who you would partner with for each of these goals. And then for your own personal preference of when you want to get started with each of these, if they're ongoing, then the timeline should be something along the lines of how often do you want to check in on this with each other or with the partners to make sure that everything's going smoothly. But I just wanted to run through, you know, 2 to 3 minutes on each of these. Who are the partners for that goal? And then what timeline are you looking at? Is this a 5 years? Is this a 10 years? Is this something that we can get started next month? And then once we've got that all written down, like I said, for each of these goals, we'll probably have 2 to 4 objectives, something that's really like, you know, if it's the first one is offer incentives for partnering and partnerships. What exactly do we mean by that? Do we have to form a committee to do that? Do we have to assign someone to make the call? Once that's formed, how often are we meeting? How often are we talking? So I'll take a shot at that. But let's go through each of these. These are the ones that we decided on last time. And I've got a couple extra ones based on what we talked about last time with the different planning models in terms of those 3. And I sent that paper along to you. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it. And then something else that Karen had emailed me that I thought was a good idea to include in here as well is, ironically enough, sort of the contention of what preceded this conversation, which was sharing of services and doing an audit of how well you could be coordinating those to reduce costs, not only for yourself internally, but also potentially for the townships as well, or the villages. So any questions before we dive into this? All right. So goal 1, offer incentives for participating in partnerships with housing stakeholders and developers through the County Land Bank Authority or Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. A couple of the obvious partners there, Land Bank Authority, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. I think Housing North would also make sense to include in there if you guys are still working with them. Anyone else that you can think of that you would want to include in terms of the housing incentives goal?
Stretch, Habitat for Humanity.
Frankfurt Area Community Land
Frankfurt area,
Trust.
yep.
What was the first one you said before?
Homestretch,
Home stretch, okay.
Habitat,
Home stretch, habitat.
Frankfurt Area Community Land Trust. And then yes, Housing North.
Birch. Land trust. This is why I come to talk to you all. Okay. Any others?
I don't think for housing.
Okay.
Timeline, what were you thinking of in terms of, if we're talking about incentive programs to encourage housing, when do you think that would be something you'd want to get started on?
I mean,
Happening
we're
currently.
happening, it's kind of happening now.
Okay, and is that formalized, or is that kind of just like Housing North says we're doing this program, it's kind of like a response-based approach?
Response-based, I would say.
Okay, do you guys want to formalize it all? Like, maybe once every 6 months, you invite these groups here to discuss their opportunities and coordinate?
And
Or
there's
do you-
different projects happening with different groups, so it's not
Right.
like they're coordinated with each other.
So we
There-
do have that informal group, that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to formalize that process. We're very informal at this point, but we do bring, the powers that be around the table to talk. It's just not that formal. So it'd be nice to formalize that process.
What does that informal group look like right now? Is it?
All those people we just named, as well as township representatives.
Okay, so you're sort of meeting with them individually, but not as one?
No, we pull them all together.
Oh, you do? Okay. Okay,
Yarrow helps with that,
okay. Gotcha.
but it's all informal. We don't have any formal agreements. or
It doesn't
anything.
have like a name or
No,
anything.
I mean, we call ourselves like the Benzie Housing Committee, but again, it's all informal.
Okay, just so he has a tag for it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So it sounds like that's something that's halfway ongoing, could happen right away.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Goal 2, work with local governments and other stakeholders to explore options for enhancing or expanding infrastructure in appropriate areas. That would be the local units would be one partner.
Road Commission, is that what I'm looking at here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Conservation District.
Yeah,
DT.
Yeah. BT and consumers.
right.
You want me to
Also-
just, do all of the service providers in the area?
I
Like-
think that makes sense.
So it's
Erie Capital.
very similar to would also cover goals number 7.
Yeah, so those kind of are a little bit of the same.
One's like very
Yeah.
general, the other one's a little bit more specific.
Yeah, this one's sewer, water, natural gas,
Mhm.
whereas the other one would cover those plus maybe broadband as well as EMS coverage, solid waste and recycling coverage. So that second one covers some more of those county services, whereas the other one is specific to those utilities.
Do you want me to combine those and then do objectives that are specific to like sewer or road?
I think that makes sense, don't you?
I think
I-
combining the two, because right now, if you read them both, they're very
Very similar.
Yeah.
pretty the same until
Yeah.
the
Maybe make them one goal, but then there's like mini goals within.
sub goals are.
Yeah, so if it's road infrastructure, it's coordinate with the road commission. If it's gas, DT. et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. Okay. Okay. Is that something that you're already doing in an informal way? Do you have a working relationship with those people? Do you want to formalize a relationship with them or? So you've got the two entities, right? You've got the local units and then you've got the service providers. Do you want to?
So it depends which mini goal you're speaking with, because we have formal relationships and agreements for broadband, so with those providers. So that one, is happening. But then, for natural gas, we supported a grant, but that's about where that line stopped. If we're talking internal, we haven't really had much of those conversations yet, but some. So it kind of depends.
On which service we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
I almost feel like the sewer and the water has to be by itself.
With the local units.
Mhm. You can then, it's easier to accomplish things then, you're more focused.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're the ones, yeah, if you're forming a sewer
we-
district,
and we-
they're gonna be the ones.
And we want, try to stop any kind of duplication that we have, so we're not 12 of us doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
By having it in a group, but I think that is a huge infrastructure item, and it's what we're about here in Benzie, water and water protection.
Mhm.
and why people come here. So to me, if that one's separate and really targeted on itself, I mean, that's just my opinion. And it's something that has to be addressed and shouldn't be lost.
I think goal 3 though specifically touches waterways, trail systems, land, water infrastructure.
Yeah, maybe those two go together then.
Yeah, I could separate that goal 3 and move the water infrastructure up to goal 2, and then goal 3 can be waterway trail systems and water access. So that's solely recreation based. That makes
Mhm.
sense.
Makes sense.
I think goal 2 is where you're getting at the infrastructure. Okay.
Mhm.
Now when we're talking about, a lot of these infrastructure things, do you want those to be sort of as opportunities present themselves, like if a broadband opportunity comes in, or are these things that you want to take the lead in seeking out in terms of like, do you want to start approaching local units to start talking about sewer districts, or you just kind of want to be a resource for if they want to partner on anything? Where do you want resource?
The only time I would like to see us target stuff like natural gas. If there was a way to coordinate with the little units and DTE or whoever and try to promote this. Don't want to be the only part of it, but I would like to see us kind of take the lead in some of this kind of things, like we did with broadband.
Yeah,
I guess that's how I'm looking at it.
I would agree with that for the gas, because when I was going around, at least in District 3, that was a big concern of the communities that were not in city property, proper. Yeah, when are we going to get natural gas
Right.
kind of thing? Wanting
Sure, the
that
same thing is true for sewer.
and
County
sewer.
District. I mean, that's huge.
That's why I said, if we kind of I agree with what you're saying about that, and that was a need, and sewer was one too. And that's huge. Those are areas that I think we can take the lead as the county for education and coordinating and really focusing, like your approach for broadband. How you handled that. I think that's a pretty success story.
And I think the EDC is trying to take the lead on that,
Yes.
aren't they? Fair enough.
Yes. Working that, trying to go a broader approach, but that,
Yeah.
I
uh,
honestly think that's the position of those other entities. I really don't think
oh, really?
our,
Guidance?
I think we could be guidance, but I don't like to be in charge of stuff like that when they have their own entities. I mean, a gas company they know where they can make money. So they're the ones that have to come in and do their surveys. And sometimes they trip up on people and sometimes they don't. There might be a propane tank here, but it's natural gas all the way around it. This guy wants propane, period. He didn't want gas. So I know when they did cable out by us many, many years ago, it was an independent contractor. They came in, put cable in, and the only reason he did that was so Charter would buy him out. The only reason, he didn't have any support from the county, didn't have any support from the village. He just did it independently. And that's what independent contractors are like, At some point in time, I think we have to be careful. We can help facilitate and then step back.
That's more what I'm suggesting, but bringing it to the forefront and educating that
Right.
sewer and gas are two of the big obvious areas. And
Rhonda and I share about the same distance between natural gas, I think, still. Quarter of a mile for me.
Okay.
That's about $50,000.
50 grand.
Very easily for me to put a propane tank in, and
and call it good.
I love it. Yeah. So
Well,
So my
isn't the
son-
federal government gonna outlaw all these gas appliances anyway?
Mhm.
depends on
No.
what team you're in.
No,
Yes, that was not to be taken seriously.
yes, that's no.
Okay, so I think I've got a good idea of what you're talking about here. So county is a resource insofar as you'll facilitate discussions between local units or with providers, but you're not taking the lead in getting these things built for them.
I
No,
think
you're-
resource and
No, and
support.
that's not how I meant that to be.
Correct,
I
and
know.
neither, so facilitate was a good word, and educate.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Well, I think
Thank you.
support too. I mean, we
Right.
use letters of support. and,
Yeah.
You know, that stuff
Yep.
too. So
But
support of
because that gives us the focus, and that's the way we'll get things achieved that are going to bite us if we don't get it together.
Mhm.
Okay. Support waterway trail systems, and I added in there water access, so we can take that out if you want. I don't know if any of your rivers are designated water trails, which just means that they're coordinated in terms of signage and they're mapped out. And
Not, but I think at one point they were trying to do something gutsy. As far as getting access points in there for canoeing and
Yeah, I don't know.
kayaking and those kind of things. And yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
heard anything for years about that.
okay.
But the land trails,
Yeah,
DNR,
but
a
not,
good
not the
partner.
river.
Who are your
But DNR actually brought up the river.
who would be like your big river groups? So the DNR, is this mostly state land or US Forest Service land along the Betsy?
State.
State, okay. So DNR, do you have any like water groups, water trail groups, anything like
Um,
that?
Natural
conservation.
Rivers Act.
Which
Or
one?
the what's our group
It's
called?
a zoning board
It's a
Yeah,
zoning
natural
board
resources.
for
for the
Yeah,
natural
yeah,
rivers.
natural rivers.
Conservation.
You have the Platte River watershed. And they're currently in the process of redoing their plan. You have
Okay.
the Betsy River watershed group as well.
Low.
Right, and most of the lakes have their own watershed.
And then each lake has like, I think the big and little Platte Lakes have one together. And I'm sure there's a Crystal Lake Association or multiple associations in Crystal Lake.
Like watershed.
Herring Lake watershed.
Flow.
There's Flow and Benzie. That's surprising. Thought they were only in Traverse.
And then probably the
For the
conservation
long-
district
Yep.
dabbles quite a bit in water.
Okay.
health.
And they don't have a planner right now, but if you were interested in doing a designated trail system for your waterways, the Land Information Access Association in Traverse City is a nonprofit, and they've done a lot of water trail planning around the state. I just want to point them out as a resource. They don't have a planner right now, so I'm not sure they would be willing to do that right now,
We're
but
not ready anyway.
yeah, but I just wanted to get that on your radar. Okay, would you say that's sort of a up to 5-year plan? You know, between now and 5 years from now, that's something you'd want to accomplish, or?
Oh, I
Does that
don't
sound
think we
reasonable?
Get it done in 5 years. I think it's
Right.
longer
I think
extended.
Up
that's
to,
like
we can make it further, yeah, up to
Probably
10?
10 anyway.
Okay,
a big undertaking.
One of the
Yeah.
big problems with water lately was the invasion of Eurasian milfoils.
Mhm.
And the groups that are at each lake are doing their own testing. You know, Lake Ann, Alpoa and Lake Property Owners Association, they've got a couple of guys that go around and test, and it's all relative to swimmer's itch and the geese, ducks and
Gansers, it's supposed to be the McGansers, don't you?
Magansers. Yes,
what you
the
want.
Magansers.
I know when the wind blows, it ends up on the shoreline,
Yeah,
and that was always an issue for us, so.
okay, convene stakeholders to develop and maintain trails. So that's another one where the convene word, is that something that you want to be the coordinator of, or do you want to be part of conversations?
We already have groups
mean,
that
we
do
have
it, so why
groups
don't
that
we
do that.
just
We
be
have-
part of it?
Okay,
And I mean, you're on the trail.
and the Betsy
True.
Valley Management Council and the
yeah, that's what I want to know. So do you want me to say, either we can eliminate that goal because it's not you, actively being the lead on that. So we can either eliminate that goal or just say participate in trail planning efforts.
Oversee it. I
I
mean,
mean,
the townships are good. I know
we're the
Elmira
fiduci-
Township.
Yeah, we're the fiduciary
Right.
for the grants, for the improvement grants that are happening.
So again, kind of that resource role, but not
Right.
let the trail groups do the trail.
Mhm.
group
the
stuff.
trail
Them do
group,
what they
yeah,
do.
actually set up by the courts.
Right.
Okay.
And it definitely says Benzie County will
Right.
take care of this. So I don't know how else to interpret that.
Right?
Well,
Okay.
we're responsible.
So can you, what was that last part?
Uh,
You said that,
Bigelow agreement on the Betsy Valley Trail, but what
That-
facilitated the management council.
But that only dictates a 3
And
mile
that, yeah,
piece.
only a 3 mile stretch, but the way it's set up, that management council is responsible for the entire county as far as the trail. So that's.
so that management council, is that Friends of the Betsy Valley Trail or is that
No,
Benzie County?
It's
It's
Benzie
Benzie
County.
County. Friends are a different
The
group.
Friends are like the fundraising arm,
Okay, so the management council is your,
one of our boards.
that's how, that would be the entity associated with this goal?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that just called the Betsy County Trail Management Council
No,
or
Betsy Valley Trail Management Council.
Betsy Valley? So besides Friends of Betsy Valley, the Betsy Valley Trail, who else would be a partner on this? DNR?
Yes.
National Park Service, maybe?
Yep. Probably it.
Actually.
Maybe the road commission. I don't know if you guys have any desire to put trails along the roadways.
They still own some property.
Was it the Benzie Manistee Snowbirds, the snowmobiling group? They maintain the trails for the snowmobiles.
Right. Part of it, and then
Pardon?
It's
through the DNR, I think.
And I've seen some trail markings for like bicycle trails. I don't know who maintains them or where they were.
And the Betsy Valley Trail, is that where you saw?
No, I'm talking about just
Oh,
down some two trackers and you see like a trail where it's a bicycle, not a motor or motorized. You can tell it's only about that wide.
So you've got a starter with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
That's-
DNR may have that.
Do you guys work with TART as well? Should I include them?
No, they're
No,
not really
no,
here.
no.
They're the county.
I didn't know if they came out this far.
Nope.
Timeline for that, that's probably ongoing already.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Work with land conservancies, watershed groups, and other stakeholders to leverage funds and implement programs that protect water quality. That sort of goes along with goal 2, but this is more of your initiatives, like what the conservation district's probably doing, probably with the invasive species management, that kind of, is that your interpretation of this?
Yeah, that, like I said, the watershed groups as well.
Yep. So pretty much most of the groups mentioned in goal 3.
5.
Yeah, okay. I'll just double those up. Do you guys play an active role or are you just, obviously if there's a nonprofit established to do something and I don't know how active you want to be in it, but again, do you guys act as a fiduciary on anything? Are you kind of, what's your role in terms of the water protection stuff? Or what do you want your role to be? I guess it's a better question since it's a goal.
I guess for the grants and everything, we're just letters of support and help with that, but we're not,
We don't apply for any of those grants.
yeah,
Okay,
the
So you-
groups do that.
okay.
At least that's my understanding.
Promote watershed protection practices such as permanent land protection on critical sites, low impact development techniques, and periodic inspection of on-site wastewater systems. Obviously, a lot of that, so that's getting at local zoning. That's getting at local zoning, essentially, what it sounds like, kind of the septic inspections, maybe point of sale stuff. So
That's
that,
our health department. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like, that's what, I mean,
We have a county ordinance that
right,
inside of them,
point of sale.
yeah, point of sale.
Inspection.
you guys have point of sale inspections?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's health department, that is, do they, I know it's a county ordinance, but do they have to coordinate with the local municipalities on that when that happens, or does it just supersede it?
It's a countywide.
It was a
Yeah.
pretty big undertaking when they amended it, and there was public hearings and coordination, but it's just it's the overarching ordinance. Nobody else has anything subsidiary to it.
So that handles kind of that last part of that goal when we talk about the permanent land protection on critical sites. I guess that would be like the conservation district. Right?
Good.
Okay. Can't really think of anyone else that would.
Oh, does Michigan State Extension figure in there at all? Or any of this?
That I don't.
No?
Okay. I think that would pretty much, I mean, by definition, that's pretty much what they
Okay.
do, so.
Did we select this as a goal? As a
Yeah,
group?
yeah, so these are all the
I
ones that we
don't-
start.
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't remember this one. I don't even, such as permanent land protection on critical sites. What does that mean? Permanent land protection on critical site. I don't even know how that would apply.
I would imagine it would involve erosion and
From what-
some of the issues you guys are having there
Or
with
sun-kissed or?
sunkist and those kind of things. But that could apply anywhere that there's water and farmer tears up a field and it goes right into the lake. I don't know.
Point
Yeah.
Betsy.
Is that what we're talking about?
We're gonna have the whole thing in the lake.
And probably sun-kissed too, Drive.
Yeah,
That was a hot topic for it.
Well, it wasn't a topic until they took all the trees off it and. Let it be visible by the moon and sun and rain.
Okay, so for this one, we've got, is there a watershed council in this area?
There's a lot of them. There's Crystal
Oh,
Lake
oh, right,
watershed.
right, right,
There's a
right,
whole bunch
right.
of different lakes.
Okay, so all the ones that we mentioned.
they're all individual.
Okay, so we've got health department for the countywide periodic inspection of on-site wastewater, conservation district for land protection. And then the low impact development techniques, that's gonna be all local zoning. That's gonna require that, so I don't know if you want to keep that in there or just act as a resource for if they have any questions on low impact development.
Do the
I can also just,
soil
Write that out.
erosion, is that what?
Yeah.
I'll write the objective for that and you tell me if you want to do it or not.
Yeah,
Okay. Goal 7, we.
that's a whole new can of worms. then.
Yeah, yeah. Goal 7, we combined with goal 2. Goal 8, work with local and regional chambers of commerce and other business associations to promote recreation opportunities, festivals, and community events. One of the things that I think we can loop in there with that goal as an objective is, where is it? I would say goal 12 and
You're not.
12, 13, and maybe 10. Because 10 is where we had talked about having your recreation sites mapped out with the information online and then just having an active portal for people to know where your public sites are.
That's kind of more up to Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah,
and
that seems
some of
like
the
I don't know why goal 12 is on there.
more-
Yeah.
more local entities rather than board.
In our Chamber of Commerce is a little bit, I mean, I don't want to use, dysfunctional, defunct.
Non-existent.
Distant.
I mean, I think there's a tourist informational office in Frankfurt, but we don't have a local presence anymore. Everything was
Did
moved
they
to
put
Traverse City.
Stuff down here to the
Oh, in the
trailhead.
trailhead, they put
Out where they
pamphlets
put
in
their
there.
pamphlets in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Oh, that's where they were gonna have their meetings or something.
So you guys don't really have like an economic development arm in the area or who takes on that work?
Well, we
Well,
have economic
CPRA, but
but they're still figuring out their wings.
And who was that?
So this board appoints the members,
For the chamber?
no, for the economic development.
Oh, okay, what's?
EDC Brownfield.
Yeah, Economic Development Corporation, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, they're combined.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
And then the chair of that committee reaches out your office and whoever else he reaches out. Or an agenda,
No, I pretty much do that.
the agenda.
Okay, so just because I think these could be objectives under what is goal 8, or just, I can make a broader statement that could combine all these. I would say 10, 12, 13, and 8 could be combined because they're all kind of promoting local assets. And that's kind of those are kind of your economic development / marketing objectives, and we can put those into one goal. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't like naming Venture North Alliance for Economic Success. I mean, I don't think we should be making it part of our master plan to connect people with, it's their job to connect themselves with people. It's not the county's job to,
It's pretty common in master plans to call out your stakeholders and your regional entities, and that's pretty commonplace in master plans. So it's not out of the norm, is what I'm trying to say.
okay,
Yeah, so do you want to talk, so goal
I
12?
like 10.
I do too.
Yeah, and that's where, that's where we had talked about that portal and having, having that stronger online presence. So let's just go back to goal 12 for a second, because I want to make sure it matches what you want to get done. So you've got your EDC and brownfield redevelopment combined into one. You guys assign the chair, then the rest are,
This body appoints that board.
oh, gotcha, the whole board, okay. So do you want to, how would goal 12 be written that would make you happier in terms of
Bring back the Chamber of Commerce.
just say support the Chamber of Commerce
I mean,
and
that's where all those entities belong, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
It doesn't really sit kind of with us. I mean, we're not telling them people what to do.
is that the role of, so with that connecting businesses, developers, would you say that's a combined role of the Chamber of Commerce and that EDC, BRA combined entity, or?
They all go hand in hand.
Okay. Okay, so let's just say that those would be the county partners, those two entities, and then the other ones listed here, the Venture North Alliance for Economic Success, those would be partners as well. But the lead is taken by those two. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So we combine 8, 10, 12, and 13. That takes us to 9, develop a community logo and or consistent signage to serve as a local brand.
We done that?
Well,
How do you-
have.
You guys have that?
Haven't we?
Well, yeah, we've pretty much done it. There's other,
There's our logo.
Right.
there's other options to, well, as far as the consistent signage to serve, I mean, there's opportunity to expand our signage to our other sites. But yeah, we've kind of done it.
I don't think that needs to be in there as a master plan goal.
Okay, you guys want to check that one off then? I'll take
Yeah.
that out. Okay. Goal 11, participate in planning education opportunities such as citizen planner, regional workshops, and Benzie County events. I think that one kind of speaks for itself for the objectives. Do you want me to identify other training opportunities that you might be interested in? Something like when you're onboarding, new commissioners, that you have kind of a set, not
Well,
training, but onboarding process for them.
Always have FOIA training.
I like the
Those
FOIA
kind of
training. We're
things.
due to
Most-
do that again.
Citizen planner, I wish we'd promote that a little harder.
FOIA, OMA, and then we have our
Yeah.
orientation as well.
There's a lot of planning.
And that's all
commissions that
online
have
already, isn't it?
that
Yeah.
kind of-
Okay.
And I think Grow Benzie was trying to work into a slot like that to where they could have a place,
Yeah.
help facilitate some of that stuff.
Okay. Now, the other half of goal 11 that we had talked about last time, I just wanted to make sure I had worded it correctly when we updated. It was sort of Benzie County acting as a convener of trainings for the local municipalities. Do you want to continue with that idea? Okay.
Or
Okay. So the training for county staff, that would be ongoing, or staff or elected officials would be ongoing. That convener of training, would you like a 3 to 5 year goal for that timeline? Or is that something that makes sense? Okay. Goal 14, develop and update analysis identifying land use changes since 2000. That was one of the ones.
I think it's more about projection, not,
Yeah, it's more of
But
what, how
not
the
what
land
its
is currently
history.
used. Right. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
You must
It
have got
was
it
just
off
the goal from the last plan and that one was
Okay.
starred and I put it in the chart.
Okay.
I haven't made anything up here, I promise you.
There have been land use changes since 2000.
Yeah, what's the point of that?
No, I
So I guess I'll give an example of, I don't know what this means, but let me try to interpret it. So for instance, we're doing Blair Township's master plan right now, and in order to get an understanding of how their zoning is affecting development,
Land use.
we're looking at aerial images from the last 30 years to see how development has occurred and making sure that that sits well with the local leadership and the people who live there. So if they're seeing large swaths of single family housing in one area where they go, oh, that was farmland 20 years ago and we really wish that had stayed farmland, then it's like, okay, let's revisit our ordinance to make sure our land use reflects what we actually want. So I think that's what this is getting.
Yeah,
at.
it's like
Oh.
an evaluation of where the county was and where we're going, and is that the right direction?
But isn't that handled by the individual townships and their master plans?
It is, but I think the
This
idea
is
of this is
supposed
to
to
look
tie
at
to
it
it.
from
Yeah,
county level and, you know, if it's not working out, maybe there's some coordination that needs to happen between various townships.
yes.
You know, if like the lake shore is, you're building in tons of unregulated dune areas, et cetera, et cetera.
It's our role to help facilitate the proper growth of our county. And while we have individual fragmented zoning, we should always try to keep an eye on that and point direction if we're able, so that we're building a sustainable county. So we're not building in coastal zone managed areas and, you know, those sorts of things.
Well, some years ago, the Land Conservancy was very active in the northern Michigan region, but I haven't heard a whole lot of them lately. I know some properties by us, they bought out and preserved. But that's quieted down a lot.
Yeah,
I think this might be another one of those ones where if I write out the objectives, it might give you a better idea of. And if you read them and you go, no, that's, you don't want to, that's fine, I'll cross them out.
All right. let's go with that.
Goal 15, use the county composite future land use map to identify inconsistencies between jurisdictions when reviewing local master plans or zoning ordinances. I'm assuming this may have been written when you had county planning commission, it might not be.
yeah, that's one of the
relevant now.
old goals carried
Okay.
over.
So that one was just starred from last time. Do you want me to cross that out?
Yes.
Yep.
It seems a little irrelevant. Okay. And then, okay, so goals 16 and 17, these were ones that we had talked about. Karen shared one with me, and then the other one was what we had talked about last time with the shared permitting process. So just let me know what you think. So the first one, identify programs and services in Benson County that could be shared between municipalities in order to reduce redundancies and increase cost savings. So for example, what we had talked about with the infrastructure, EMS, police, fire, that's kind of what we're getting at. Joint planning commissions, anything like that.
Makes sense.
Does that sit well with you?
That was a suggestion from me, like Zach said, because I just said, where are the redundancies? How is it affecting service and the economics of it? Because if we don't have good communication, all those redundancies make us pretty ineffective. So I just asked, where is that information?
I
And
don't think all of our townships really play nice with each other.
No.
They're all want to be, this is what we have and this is what you have.
Fiefdoms,
and We don't want you
little
coming up here for
fiefdoms.
this and
So the way,
Kind of,
I think the way you
But
have
that's
an
why the
object,
people in the townships vote the way they do, right?
Oh, yeah.
If I want this in my township, I vote for it in my township, right? And if the people, like,
Mhm.
people move in and out of, say, Traverse City, because they like the way it's going, or they don't like the way it's going. So, I mean, you have your individual areas. I'm fine with people having their individual areas and.
yeah,
voting for
I
what you
don't,
want
so I
to
don't
vote
think
for.
you interpret this goal as let's
right.
come in and tell all the municipalities that they have to
Right.
give up their individual services for one large county service. I think it's are there two townships who are really struggling to make ends meet? And they need someone to facilitate discussions between them or have a resource to possibly share services.
all you gotta do then is call the dollar store and see if they'll put a store in your town.
That's the answer to everything, right?
Oh,
So I don't view it as, and I can write the objectives that way, that you're not coming in and saying, hey, we're taking everything that, all your rights away as a local jurisdiction, putting it at the county. It's, hey, these three townships are really struggling to cover their fire. Maybe they can coordinate on something else.
What do you have in common to
Or-
make it more economic and more efficient?
They can't be responsible for
Safety.
everybody if they don't.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and in a perfect world, when everybody loves that same sandbox, townships should be looking to the county for guidance and the county should be
Yeah.
guiding. And then the county looks to the state and the state looks to the federal government. I know we don't live in that,
Our
you know,
sandbox don't look like that.
utopia, but in the grand scheme of it all, you know, the township should be able to look at the county for guidance because we're the higher government.
It's fine.
We have the more
Right.
resources. So they look to us for that assistance and, hey, how do we work together? Help guide us. That's what that kind of gets to.
The communication and the connection.
Mhm,
That's basically what I was.
mhm.
Yeah, and there's some, think about like childcare is a big issue everywhere. If there's a few townships that could get together and I think that's what it's getting at. It's not the take away your, I get that. Okay, so I'll write that one out if that sounds good. And then the last one is what we talked about last time with the different zoning models for, the issue of it's hard to fill planning commissions at the local level now. It's difficult for developers when 20 townships have 20 different zoning ordinances. And if you drive a half mile down the road, you're looking at a whole different ordinance. I don't know if you were able to look at that paper or if what we talked about last time made sense. If that's something that you want to keep on the goal as just something to explore over the next 10 years.
Exploration is probably the best way. Right now, I don't see the local townships jumping on and asking the county for help decisions, so. I talked to Manistee, because this is kind of where you pointed me,
Yep.
and yeah, there's a few townships down there that just don't have the resources to do things, so they coordinate with the county. But it's not as popular as you think from there.
No, and so Manistee County, they're kind of in the middle of those three models. Right now, they've got, I think, 6 or 7 townships and villages that they contract with the county to do their zoning administration while they maintain their own zoning ordinances and planning commissions. They're moving towards a single county zoning ordinance because that's become untenable because the 3 planners on staff at the county don't have time to know 7 ordinances, potentially 10 now that it's become popular. And then they also have, for the townships that don't want to work with the county on their zoning, there's joint planning commissions out there where, like Calava and Maple Grove, they formed a joint planning commission. There's no reason that they can't have 2 other townships on that joint planning commission. So it's, 5 municipalities working together. And now you don't have to have, 5 planning commissioners from each township. You just have to have 1 from each township. And you can share in all the costs of having someone to go out and enforce blight ordinances and make sure that the developer is actually building how your ordinance is written. So like I said, those are the 3 models.
Yep.
I think you could potentially run into the issue of you might have a couple townships that just can't fill a planning commissioner as ZBA over the next 20 years, and they might be looking for coordination. And so that's where you could step into, not necessarily do it for them, but help them form joint planning commissions or do what Manistee County's doing, whichever one. But did that goal sit well in that context?
It does with far as
Okay.
getting input from the townships and getting coordination.
Well, I think it's a good option. No,
Well, some of
That
the
would be
townships
interesting.
on the north line, Springdale being one of them, right behind Crystal Mountain, and whoever's next to them. They all generally try to work together.
Mhm.
you don't have
Absolutely.
zoning, so it works out well.
Yeah, so I'll just tell you anecdotally, because, you know, our experience in Manistee County is probably similar to what we would experience in Benzie County. So we're talking to all 20 jurisdictions in Manistee and saying, what do you think about a single county zoning ordinance? And we have 5 to 7 who are like, yes, let's do it. Can't wait. We can't afford to do this on our own anymore. We can't fill planning commissions. We love the professionality and the 40-hour work person I can call for help. We have 8 that are like, no way. We love our zoning, keep it how it is. Totally fine. Then we have others who are like, we're interested in that joint planning commission model. We'll work with 2 or 3 of our neighbors, but we don't really want to involve the county. So
And there's enough flexibility that works.
that it's up to them. So they can do, they can do whatever they want. The question we get all the time is, are we gonna lose our zoning at the local level? And it's like, technically, legally, yes. In Emmett County, the local jurisdictions don't have their own zoning. But the flip side of that, and the reason it's working there and they're all staying in, is because the county planning department is so active in, if they have a special use, they're at that local jurisdiction saying, what do you think of this? Because they know that if they start doing things that the township disagrees with, they're just going to pull out. So they have no incentive to do wild things that the township doesn't want. But yes, technically you are losing your local zone. So
One thing I don't see identified on here that's been talked about by our Parks and Rec committee is, when we talked about, when I thought this sentence was going to read, develop an updated analysis identifying land use changes since 2000, is develop an updated analysis identifying current land use recreational opportunity. That's what's been talked about, is identifying where our trails are, where our hiking trails are, where public waterway use is, and then all the things that go with that. Can I bring my pets? Is this handicap accessible?
so we did that for the
said
recreation
it was-
director study.
You say you're putting that in 10, didn't you? Or-
That's going in, we discussed it? Okay.
I
I
thought you
didn't hear
said
that.
that.
Are you talking about goal 14? Or which one are you talking about?
I'm just saying I don't see that on here, and I know Parks. and
Oh,
Rec,
so
the
that
goal
was,
of
that
Parks
was
and
goal
Rec.
10. Yeah, so that'll be an objective for goal 10, that like portal
Okay,
that says
is
where
part of goal
everything.
10? Okay.
Yeah, so, we have all that data and we sent that to Ed Hooter.
Oh, good.
And I think there were just a few sites that he needed to update / give us the information so we could update it, but we have shape files of all of your recreation and cultural sites, and then for the recreation sites, every site feature. So is there a
Oh,
bench, is there lighting?
Yeah.
Is there a trail, is there signage? Everything you can think of is inventoried. So all you would have to do is you just set up a GIS portal, and then you just upload that data, and you've got, somebody can click on a dot where like the lighthouse is, and it says every feature that's at that site.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
Zach, the other thing, through my Michigan Association of County Committee that I'm on, they highly suggest that in your master plan for the county, you have something that refers to the environment, solid waste, all of these sorts of industries or land use or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
But something like that in your master plan.
So Stephanie in our department is updating your master plan, so I haven't gone through the specifics of every chapter. You guys not have like what waste providers you have in the community or anything like that? Or like environmental features?
We should.
Okay, so you should, if you're following the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, because you guys don't have a county planning commission or you don't manage land use at the county level, you don't need to. I mean, we follow the Michigan Planning Enabling Act for our plans. But I'm just saying you technically don't have to have that if you don't want to, but
It should be in there. Protect the environment, land
was-
use.
what-
I'll double check. I'm not
What's the
sure it's
Section again,
not in there.
section is,
Like, it would be called something like environment or environmental features. You have the master plan open? Okay.
People, place, assets, opportunities, which includes natural resources, implementation, future land use. That's about it,
Okay, so it's probably in that natural features section.
probably. Assets and opportunities, natural resources, economic development. And then yes, future land use.
Okay.
That's probably in there. It's just not titled how you think it should be, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it would be titled, but
Yeah, let me see, I'll go through there and I'll pull it up and I'll see if I can find it. But I can't imagine, I think Sarah Lucas wrote that plan. I can't imagine she didn't put environmental features in there. She's pretty thorough. Their plans.
I mean, that's just a future way of looking at it, what we have here and the reasons why people come to this
Yeah.
area. So we want to be very wise
Yep.
with the guidance on that.
No, that was a lot.
Oh,
We got through that fast. So next steps here, this chart will be filled out. We will have the 5 chapter addendums for you for the next meeting. I'll essentially at the next meeting just walk you through what we've done with those addendums and the goals and objectives. And then you'll basically have a month to review. Get your edits to me at that last meeting. We'll talk about it and then we'll send you a final draft following that last meeting.
Okay, that was going to be my question, our homework.
No homework this time, but next time you'll have
Okay.
homework, yes.
You had to bring that up.
Hey,
All right, thanks, everyone.
See you later, Zach.
I really appreciate it. Oh, we're already packing up like you're.
Anything else?
Sorry.
We have our last public comment.
What do you want?
He's got his cap on, though.
I know he does.
That's to keep.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks.
Elmira. I work for the county, but it is my objective as the emergency
Right.
management coordinator to coordinate the whole county. So whenever I talk to your township, I'm always like, I'm your emergency manager,
Gotcha.
so to speak. So regarding the it was so long. He was so long. I lost track of my train of thought.
Only 2 hours.
Regarding the ad hoc, there is a culture of, and I don't want to speak bad to them, but there is a culture between Benzie EMS and Elmira. There was one before the current chief even came, that I had to deal with from a 911 perspective. It's just like, we're us, you're you, we do our thing, you know, and we've tried to correct it a little bit and adapt, but I think for the ad hoc, there needs to, I think it would help that we're including the communication that is the county. Because like when we were thinking about moving Station 3, the city of Frankfort's like, I moved here to have an ambulance right here. If you tell people enough, hey, here's a group of people in Elmira or Lake Ann, would you like ALS? Hell yeah, I want ALS. Okay, we'll give you ALS. There, the discussion's been over. And then you can go and tell people, our community wants ALS. But I think what part is not getting communicated is how that impacts the rest of the county. And so my hope is that with your ad hoc, that you're communicating the other perspectives of just, they want what they want and that's cool. And I would want it too. If you want to put I know that an ambulance is closer to my house as I get older. I'm going to take care of it. And they do a really
looking
good
at
job
it?
at taking care of their community. They do walk-in blood pressures and all this other stuff. So they do a really good job. And it's easy to sell up there. Hey, you can walk in and get your blood pressure and we will take care of you. We will even now be this. We don't have to wait for those schmoes to show up. But I don't think a lot of the people in Elmira are being educated as to the impact that it will have on the rest of the community if they do that. Again, I'm going to reiterate what Tom said. And again, Tom has more personal involvement in it than I do, because I still try to look as a whole and I have no personal agenda, but is that this community this county is not big enough for that. Because you see Grand Traverse does it, you see Eaton County does it, you see Roscommon does it, and those people don't all get along. They all run their own little cities. And do it their way, and then that starts to impact how we dispatch, how we do all the other things. And then they, it's kind of clicky and weird. So my hope with the ad hoc is that you give those people allow you to give them the perspective that is, yes,
Abroad.
I agree with you. ALS in your community would be super cool. But if you vote yes for yours and no for us, do you realize now that these people don't get same service, and it's that balance, and you can't carve them out.
Elmira has always looked that way and not this way.
Understood, yeah,
Always.
and it is, but I think if some of them realize what the impact is, because it's all, they'll be sold what they're sold, and they'll be happy with what they want, because that's what they want. But there's repercussions, I guess, that they have to figure out, so I think hopefully they include you. That's all.
So Rebecca, I have a question for you. How would you feel if you were asked to be on that ad hoc committee?
I have no problem with that. I honestly try to, even though I'm an employee of Benzie County and I should have Benzie County's interest at heart. I have the whole community's interest at heart,
That's-
because it
Well,
really
that
comes
is
down
Benzie
to
County.
how we have to
It's the whole
take care of each
community.
other in crisis, and I'm the crisis.
But whatever they do affects.
That would be
entire county.
perfect.
Yes, and we have to.
So if
focus
you
on
need
the
me
county.
there, I would have loved to have been invited to any of their other meetings or whatever, but it seems like it's very exclusive club as to, we want to feed
Yeah.
the Kool-Aid, and
Right.
and they do a really great
Yeah.
job.
Mhm.
But Katie gets calls all the time. I don't know that you realize that, where someone from that community is always telling her that we're not doing it right. We need to, that they have a better, we're not doing this. Our dispatch isn't doing it
Okay.
right. This isn't doing it right.
It's at least weekly, a call critiquing one of
So-
our departments, because they're not doing it how they do it.
And I can't fix the whole
Mhm.
EMS, it's that management battle we just can't fix. But again, I don't have that same agenda. Except we all gotta live at the big meteor fall.
We all need it in Benzie.
Well, do we have to take a consensus to include Rebecca? on
I'll
the ad hoc?
invite her as staff no matter what.
I can always speak
Yeah.
during the public part. I don't have an issue, but
I think this will be more of an informal ad hoc, honestly. And so, Rebecca, honestly, Corey should probably come as well as dispatch, because
there's
this
an
affects
impact to
Can
his.
you do some meetings here?
Yeah, we can do them
I-
here.
I
We can
would
do
like
them
to
wherever.
invite the audience.
Me too.
just to
I
see
think
how
we do
This is
that.
going.
I think we do it in both locations to show the olive branch. We can hold them here, but then also say, hey, if you want to have meetings in Elmira,
Correct.
just to try to, I want to come with, hey, we're open
gonna
to
take-
this. Let's work
and it
together.
will come down to funding. They
Yeah.
need you. Because they
For
won't
money.
have enough funding and enough staff to do the coverage that they need. That's why some of the other agencies that we've seen, Kingsley and whatnot, have folded in because they don't have that. Even us, we struggle to have enough paramedics to run all the shifts. Just when we're in that space. So to be
Competitive
that
market.
small and to run the whole thing 24/7, can't do it. So they have to look at the options, and that's why they want to look like, as Tom alluded to,
Sure.
that was Frederick, that did that expanding in order to get more money, to get more people.
Right.
And it's just gonna eat away at the rest of it, and there's gonna be some person in Joyfield Township
Oh,
who
sure.
has to wait for MMR to come
Yeah.
down.
Cadillac.
Manistee, because that's all we have left.
Yeah, that,
MMR out of Manistee does come from Cadillac sometimes.
Well, and Elmira has some of the staff that work for us in Elmira. Again, there's a management thing there that I can't fix. But they think that have a better
no,
idea.
but
But I think you would bring some stuff to the table if you're a part of the ad hoc committee, Rebecca.
I'll just. Because I care about how that will, really am nervous about how that will unfold and the
Me too.
services that provide for us.
That was an eye opener today for me.
And
Try being in those
don't- you
meetings
don't- I don't
and I
wanna
had the
make
main
their-
I
thing.
didn't do too well.
Well, that's
They're
why.
not bad. They just,
Right.
They're just not a team.
You're right.
player. They're not a team
They
player.
look at it. Long Lake can do it, why can't we do it?
It didn't work too good either. Is that when Travers was gonna do it in the city?
Travers is doing it in the
Yeah,
city
that's
now.
what I mean.
But they were
They're-
trying to suck in everybody else. I think Long Lake was one of them. Can't remember, I can't recall, but I know.
And they're able to function that way, maybe it's because Grand Traverse is bigger or something, where Green Lake and Long Lake and that, like you said, that community looks that way.
Yeah.
And no way we could pull that off and
Mhm.
handle it public.
City finances the.
They just passed a millage.
Yeah, city has their own. Sorry.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Public comment closed?
We don't have any.
She was public, huh?
You
No, I
have
meant-
something to say, Evan?
There's nobody left.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, they all
Yeah.
left.